financial assets. We all search for the American dream and our piece of the American pie. The height of Black land ownership historically documented in the year 1910. Records show that most Black Americans own land than ever before in the United States history. Over 14 million acres of land were owned by approximately 210,000 African Americans. Since then, Black American land ownership hasn't risen to those levels of the early 1900s. Black Americans, despite making up 13% of the population, own less than 1% of rural land in this country. The total value of all that land put together is $14 billion. Of the total land of $1.2 trillion worth of total wealth. Of that, 96% of landowners are white people, which brings their value to over $1 trillion. Rural land ownership has deep historical roots based in slavery and post-slavery. Land ownership is important because of the type of wealth that people can establish and the benefits themselves that pass down these wealth and things that come with it to future generations. After African Americans were able to own land, they lost it due to exploitation, theft, and sub-poverty wages. Later in society, Blacks were often affected by redlining and other laws that prevented us from being able to own property. And we all can't forget about what happened at Black Wall Street in Tulsa. All these things were devious attempts to ensure that the Black community didn't get its piece of the pie. Further impacting the ability of Black wealth and ownership. True to every aspect of Black culture and African American history, our community has always adapted and evolved. We have always overcome. Black Americans have demonstrated the tenacity to rise to this by the rise of entrepreneurship. Many individuals have gone from living paycheck to paycheck to now being self-employed business owners. Individuals have gone from being the next employee of the month to being the next president and CEO of the next big company. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce Department of Minority Business Development Agency has released the data pinpoints that are challenges for minorities being able to secure financing to open their own businesses. They include that minority business owners are less likely to be approved for financing when compared to white owners. When minority-owned business owners receive loans, they are often smaller loans with higher interest rates and shorter payback durations. Lastly, non-whites have less net worth, meaning that they're less resilient in being able to put up collateral to be able to get loans. Despite these setbacks, again, over the past 10 years, minority businesses have grown at twice the rate of non-minority businesses. They employ more than 6.3 million Americans and generate over $1 trillion in revenue. So think about the statistics I gave you earlier. Non-whites, when it came to land ownership, had $1 trillion of wealth. Now, we have $1 trillion in revenue. The U.S. Small Business Administration reported in 2018 that 27.6 million firms in the United States in 2012 had 7.9 million firms with minority businesses, representing 29.3% of all businesses in the country. And again, earlier I spoke about the value of land and wealth creation and what it means for society. As I shared in 1910, that was considered the height of Black land ownership. What I didn't speak about was the silent battle of Black women throughout the years in owning property and fight discrimination. Women's rights have always been an issue fought in our country, but the rights of minority women has always gone mostly silent. Throughout the years, Black women have taken little and little and little to make a recipe of success. Despite not being treated equally or even thought of equally, Black women have taken these pieces such as 1938 Fair Labor Standards Law, the Equal Pay Act of 1963, the Second Civil Rights Act of 1968, and Title IV changes of 1974 to make their own pie. They took those together to make their own recipe so they can create their own pie for the American dream. As of 2019, women of color account for 50% of all women-owned businesses. The Small Business Administration released that minority communities have higher shares of women-owned businesses, which is estimated to be about 59%. 59%, women of color employ roughly 2.3 million people. That is 25% of the overall women-owned business statistics. In addition to that, women of color generate $422 billion in revenue, which is 23% of women-owned business revenue. The role of Black women has evolved in our society. Black women now play a major role in wealth creation in the Black community through their property and their financial assets. Black women entrepreneurship provides avenues for owners to ensure that they can open doors to generate that for future generations and ensure that others have a piece of the pie. Being a business owner, you can help shift the work-life balance that many people struggle with. You can help mothers who have to be soccer moms and juggle so many different things and be able to live a prosperous life and also advance in their career. As women business owners, you can also make sure that they have access to health insurance and reasonable accommodations. When you're a first-time mother, you have to take care of certain needs, and in most places, they don't accommodate for that. But as a business owner and a woman, you can understand that. You can provide opportunities for education and credentialing to ensure that women have the tools they need to have a seat at the table. You hear now that people are trying to make sure that minorities and women of color and women in general are in leadership positions in Fortune 500 companies or Silicon Valley. You have the ability to make sure that you provide tools for the next generation to have a seat at the table and be the CEO of these Fortune 500 companies. You have the power to create a work environment and a mission that will impact the community and the world. By doing so, you leave your imprint on your employees and your community. The Bible says that we should all teach them how to fish. Black women lay business foundations for future generations. They also teach that they can be self-sustaining and pass the torch down to the next generation. Be the leaders that you want to see in society and be the employers that you wish you had. Contributing to